third from the bottom there for the Garmin Slipstream team, led by Daughters. They are the defending champions of last year's team time trial that opened the Giro d'Italia, and they have made no secret of the fact that this is their primary goal for this race, to defend that team time trial win from a year ago, put one of their riders back in the Maglia Rosa again this year. They spent several days working specifically on the TTT up at their training base in Girona, Spain.
It's actually really interesting for me to look at the history of this sport and see that we have Columbia High Road based in the U.S., Garmin Slipstream based in the U.S., and we have the Astana team, though it's not based in the U.S. There are three top guys at this race, Armstrong, Leipheimer, and Horner. And really, coming into today, they're the teams we're thinking have the biggest chance of winning this team time trial. It's amazing to see the roots of American cycling here at the 100th anniversary of the Giro d'Italia. And certainly, Garmin wants to repeat here. They've said they're going to come into today like it's a one-day race and go full gas, try and win this thing, and then they'll pick up the chips after today and they'll move on to the rest of the race. But they've really put that out there as their goal. And also Mark Cavendish at Columbia High Road kind of saying, hey, I think that that's a little bit disrespectful to the event. This event's 21 days long. You got to have higher aspirations. I don't think Cav really realizes that these guys also want to win stages and they want to be in there in the GC, but the team time trial is what they're really specializing on.
Back end of the Garmin Slipstream team on the road here on day one. The team time trial to open up the 100th anniversary edition of the Giro d'Italia. This squad, the defending champions in this event from last year. They won by 6 seconds in 08 over Team CSC. They led High Road by 7 seconds across the line. Last year, the course was 23.6K. Today, it's 20.5. So, Todd, do you expect similar margins at the top of the standings?
I would expect similar margins. The last couple of years have been pretty tight like that, and it's just the way these things tend to pan out. Everybody is so focused on this first event of the race, and so yeah, they'll be nice and tight, and maximum 30 seconds separating the top three teams.
As a rider, how odd is it for a team like Garmin Slipstream to have your major ambition of a 3-week race to come on day number one? Because even if they do defend and win here today, it's not like you can really go out and let loose and celebrate. You got 3 weeks of racing staring you in the face.
The team time trial. However, tomorrow we're not racing against anybody else except ourselves. We want to go out there and have a perfect execution, and that's all we can hope for. And we have to clear our minds. Our riders are totally focused. I couldn't even get interviews with the riders yesterday on the team because they just wanted to be away from the press and not talking with anybody. They just want to focus on the job at hand.
Looks like Danny Pate was dropping off the pace for Garmin just a moment ago, leaving them with 8 riders as Pate struggles to keep the pace, and as part of the overall equation, trying to play the numbers game to get 5.
He will certainly be an animator, and he will certainly be a guy who goes stages. There's Tom Danielson, one of America's favorite cyclists there on the back, as Garmin looking very solid, but it's a little tough to see that they already lost Danny Pate. That means that's one less guy to pull through. That means everybody who's left has to spend a little bit more time on the front, and that could end up costing them.
Now, Tom Danielson at one time was being called the next Lance Armstrong, the next big American hope, but that was a lot of pressure, and he admitted that mentally it was too much for him to handle at the time. Went through a very tough patch, both professionally and personally, but now this season he's put together some solid, if upstream, as the next team that will likely cross the finish line. Again, AG2R is behind them, then Dick Giovanni, with all teams starting within 5 minutes of one another. And you see the riders taking the turn at the front and then pulling off, and it's part of the numbers game, trying to keep as many players together until the very end. And now Dave Zabriskie, earning the Stars and Stripes as the American National Time Trial Champion, a guy who's won the measuring your effort, as we see another rider. It looks like Cameron Meyer for Garmin now falling off the pace, but measuring your effort, making sure everybody is in sync, because you could have a rider at the front who's taking a pull, who's just so much stronger than the rest of his team. He could blow his team to pieces if he's not careful and calculates his effort. But Garmin now having some trouble, as you see 2 guys, Pate and Meyer, have dropped off the pace now.
That's not looking so smooth for our Garmin squad. It looks like they're down to only 5 men. That means they have lost 4 of them as Danielson getting on the back, Zabriskie right in front of them. Looks like Vandevelde is still in there. But yeah, this is not boding well for them. They wanted very much to win this event. Let's see if they can unseat Team Columbia High Road on the front. They have just under 50 seconds to do it, and they still have to make it around that corner and all the way down the last couple hundred meters to the finish.
Going to be very tough, it looks like, at this point, and no margin for error. They have the minimum 5 guys of 9 who started for this Garmin Slipstream team that has put so much focus into this TTT, one of the teams that has practiced this event over several days leading up to this race, trying to defend their victory from a year ago when their win put American Christian Vandevelde in the pink jersey. And now here they come down that final straight. Garmin Slipstream trying to somehow hang on with only 5 guys.
And they got the word in their ear from their manager that it's going to be close, and they're driving very, very hard to the line. They only have 3 seconds. Can they make it 2?
No, they're going to go outside of Columbia High Road. So Garmin Slipstream will not defend their TTT win from a year ago as they cross over 6 seconds behind the Columbia High Road squad. Tough day in the saddle for the Garmin boys in Venice.